In this video, we are going to continue with revision exercise 1, numbers and operations, and we will call it part 2. You will find this on page 60 in the Namibian Ordinary Level Mathematics textbook, y equals mx plus c to success. Let's look at this example. Just want to make it a little bit bigger. Use a calculator to find the value of this. Write down all the figures in the calculator display. Now, this is an easy one. So basically, we're just going to say 6a, and we're just going to take a calculator. Now, if we take a calculator, we're just going to press everything in as it stands there. So start with the square root, then press bracket, then press 5.4, then press bracket again, then press 5.4 minus 4.8, close the bracket, again the open bracket, 5.4 minus 3.4, close the bracket, open the new bracket, 5.4 minus 2.6, close the bracket, and you are closing that bracket again because it's referring to that one. So close the bracket again and then press equals. And on your, now, if they are saying to you, as in this case, the full calculator display, so everything that's on the screen of your calculator. So on my screen, it's 4.25977444. Don't approximate it. Okay, and then we go to number B and give your answer correct to one decimal place. There is the point, there is the decimal place. Look at the one behind. So it will be 4.3. That was very easy. Okay, so make sure that for this kind of sums you get full marks. So the full calculator display just means write everything that's on your calculator in number A. Okay, let's start with number 7. Now, I'm going to do it as in the previous video. I'm going to read it, then I'm going to identify it, then I'm going to go to the table of content, then I will first revise this with you, and then we are going to come and try the sum again. So use the formula, this, to calculate the value of P when V is equal to this and R is equal to this. Now, just by reading it, I can see that this numbers is all in standard form. Now, I think what they want to try to test in this calculator is just how you press it on a calculator. But it's always good to first go back to the textbook. Okay. So I'm just going to use a few clicks, but let's just see if I can find it. Table of content. Now, if I look at my table of content, here it is. Standard form. So I'm looking for standard form. Okay, let's just find that page. There is standard form. Do you see? It starts on page 18. So I go back. I just have to click. I go back to numbers and operations. I look for page 18. I just hope it's page 18. Can be that it's not 18. I will just move it up to check. It looks, this is page 18. Very standard form, but this is just how to calculate it. And then I want to see how to work on a calculator. So let's just move on. Next. It's just calculation still. Oh, here is the calculator. So if you were looking, I just can show you. In your textbook, you will find it on page 20. Now, I just want to quickly revise this with you. So if you press, and this lines, okay. So if you press this on the calculator, so just remember, you press 2.3, then don't press that multiply. Then just search for that key EXP. Now, because there's a negative, I say -3 plus 7.2 EXP -5 and then the equals. Okay, so remember that. The same here. It was 2.9. Don't press the multiply. Search for that key. and 3, divide 4.3 exp. If there's a negative, then just press that negative on your calculator. 4 equal. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going back to the question, and that was here at the end. I just want to move it a little bit down. Okay, here it is. Okay, so what I wanted you to see is just to press. So the first step will be to substitute. So let's start. Let's substitute that. So P is equal to V squared over R squared. Okay, and now I just substitute. In the place of V, I say 6 multiply 10 to the power of 6 over, okay, don't forget to square it, over, and that was just R, not square. So 7.2 multiply 10 to the power of 8. Okay, take your calculator. So remember to press 6. I just want 6. And then just search for that key EXP on your calculator. Okay, and then press 6 again. And then square that result. And then divide 7.2 and then EXP again, and then press the 8 and then press equals. And I'm getting on my calculator, okay, are they saying that you must write it in standard form? No, they just say you must find it. So I'm getting on my calculator, it's 50,000. But because it was originally, I can put it, and maybe I just revise quickly with you, standard form. So if there's no comma, remember the comma is standing at the back. So now I just move 1, 2, 3, 4, until there's one digit in front. So, or it can be 5.0 multiply 10 to the power of that movement, 4. And that can also be your final answer. Okay, let's go to number 8. I first read the question, then I identify the question. So if I read it, M is proportional. Now, this is very important. They don't say indirect, they don't say direct. Now, remember what I said, I think I said it in a previous video. If they don't mention indirect, they just mention proportional, then it's always direct proportion. Okay, to the cube of R. When R is this, okay, and M is this, when R is 5, find the value of M. Okay, now first, I'm first going to go back and I'm just going to revise quickly proportion. So just stay with me again. I'm going to go to, okay, I'm just going to my table of content again. And I'm looking for proportion. Okay, now if I look at my table of content for proportion, yeah, it starts on page 33. So I will start paging there. Okay, because it's first ratio and then proportion. So let's just go back to the chapter 1. Okay, and I'm going to, I said it was page 33. Let's just see. Okay, there, it starts there. Okay, but then it was first ratio. Do you see? Okay, I'm looking, increase, this is still ratio. There starts proportion. There is direct proportion. But this is a very simple one. I'm going to look for the bit more complicated one. And here I found it. Okay, I'm going to make it a bit bigger. And what I want to do, I'm just going to go through this. I want to focus on this method too. This is usually the method that we use. So I'm starting. Let's just go through this example. The height h centimeter reaches by an object from vertical upwards is proportional. Can you see again proportional? Then it means direct. To the square of the speed. Okay, this is very important. It's proportional to the square of this, and it's the height. Okay. Speed, and the speed is v per se, with which is from. Okay, now the first thing that you always, the sign for proportion is always this sign. Now, if it's direct, you write it on the line. So this is the square of the speed. You just do it like this. If it was indirect, but it's not indirect, you would have said 1 over v squared. Okay, but that was not in this question. Okay, now to change this proportional sign to an equal sign, you just put a k in front. And if it was indirect proportion, you would have said k over v squared. But again, as I said, it's not indirect. Okay. That's what I did there. And now I'm just going to substitute that values. In the place of h, I substitute 80. In the place of, this is k, and there is my v, 4 square. And then I find my value of k is 5. I just solved that. And now I'm taking that value of k, which is now 5, and I'm actually just substituting it in there. So that's why I'm getting h is equal to 5v squared. Okay, and that is then my equation. And now I can start working with it. Now sometimes they will break it up and they will first say find the equation. Sometimes not, and then I will just move to the second part. Then find the height reaches by the object thrown upwards at 6 meters per second. Now I just will substitute the 6 in the place of v and I will get my answer. Maybe I can just, because I'm doing a little bit of revision with you, I can just remind you quickly of indirect. Just want to go back to indirect before I go back to the question. So if I say, and let's look here, the brightness of an object varies inversely. Oh, there's the word, inversely, as the square of the distance d. Square of the distance d. Of the object from, okay, and then they give you the information. But again, I say brightness, proportion, and because it's inversely, that means indirect, it's 1 over d squared. And then to change that into an equal sign, I must write a k there. And that's what I did. And then I did my substitution to get my value of k. And there was my value of k. And then I just substituted basically in there. And then I just used the formula. So it's really not that difficult. Okay. I want to take you back to the question. Okay. I'm just going to move it a little bit. And again, if you want to try it now, before I do it, stop the video and first try to do it. And as soon as you're done, you can continue the video. Okay, let's do number 8. M is proportional. Now remember what I said? This is the proportional sign. Okay. M is proportional to the cube, not cube root. Cube, but be careful. They can stand cube, square, cube root. Okay, so cube root would have been that. Square root would have been that. But square would have been this. And cube would have been this. And this is the one they are talking about. To the cube of r. Okay, and now they didn't ask you to find the equation, so it's actually like they ask A and B in the same question. It's not a problem. Let's just continue. Make it an equal, and by making it an equal, you must put the constant in. Okay, and then you must find first the value of k by using this information. So in the value of m, it's 21.6 equals k, and r is 3. Okay, and now I'm just going to say 21.6, and this is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. So I divide. I take my calculator. I say 21.6 divide 27 equals, and I'm getting 0.8. Okay, so the value, so therefore, this sign means therefore, the value of k is 0.8. But now, don't forget, I must substitute it in there. So I'm going to say And I'm even going to use another color. Let's make it red. This is my equation. M equals 0.8 r to the power of 3. Okay, and now I'm moving it up a little bit. And now I'm using, now say when r is 5, find the value of m. So I just want to find m, and I have r, so I just substitute. So what is the value of r? It's 5. And then I'm just going to say, oh, let's just get the pen correct. 5 times 5 times 5 times 0.8 all to the power of 3. And I get that the value of m is 100. Okay, find the value. So therefore, m is 100. And that's really not so difficult. That's direct proportion, but also revise indirect proportion. And now we go for the final one. Okay, let's do number 9. I'm first going to make space, so when I come back, going to need space. I'm first going to read it, and then I'm going to look for words that tell me what am I busy with. Okay, and then I will go back to my textbook and just revise it. Okay, so let's start reading. Chris goes to a shop to buy meat, vegetables, and fruit. The prices of meat, vegetables, and fruit are, oh, there it is, in the ratio 2 to 2 to 3. The cost of the meat is this. Oh, not the total cost, only the meat is this. Calculate the total cost of the meat, vegetables, and fruit. Okay, so I must go back to ratio. Now, I want to take you back to the table of content. So let's just go back. And we find the table of content, and we are going there. And now, oh, and I already worked with it, so it's just ratio, but I will start again on page 33. So I go back, and I'm looking at page 33. Okay, let's see. Okay, where did it start? 33. Let's see if this was page 33. It looks like it. No, this was 32. Okay, so there is ratio. Now, I want to quickly just run through this basic with you before I go back to the question. So, there is 4 types of ratio sums they can ask. They can just say simplify. So basically, if the units are different, you will just make the units the same. Use your tables, and then you will, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other side. So if you divide one side by 5, you divide the other side by 5. That's just simplifying. Okay. Then there's a second one, and that is division in a given ratio. But then they will give you the total. That is very important. So if you look, and I'm going to just, as I revise, division, here it is. I want to just show you. It's like divide, and I'm giving you the total, and I want you to divide it in the ratio 2 to 3 to 4. So that is where I add up these ratios, and I get 9. And this person will get 2/9 of that 450. This will get 3/9 of the 450, and that one will get 4/9 of the 450. And that is division. But then they will give you the total. Okay, let's go back. If I say, and this is not one that they ask a lot, increase and decrease by a given ratio, but it's very easy, and you will see the words increase and decrease. So if I'm going back, there it is. And let's just run quickly through. And I want to say, especially for the grade 11s that's busy doing revision now for their finals, I always advise people by the end to just go back to the basics. And I will say a few things still in the videos to follow. But I always say, just cover that part of the block. Just do the blocks and just do that question and just check. And if it's correct, then just move on. And then you go to this block. So just by going through the basics will really help you. Otherwise, you're going to sit there in the exams and it's going to be too much in your long-term memory. So just take your textbook and just quickly do the blocks. And the blocks I'm referring to is this examples. So make sure that you know the basics. Okay, but this is increase 30 in the ratio 3:2. Now, if they say increase, there's the word. Then I take the big one and I put it over on top and the small one underneath, and I just multiply it with the 30. If they say decrease, I'm looking for the small one, put the smaller one on top and the big one underneath. So it's not the first one. It depends. You look at the ratio. If it's increase, you put the big one over the small one, and if it's decrease, you put the small one over the big one. Easy. And now I'm coming to the final one, and I want to just show you. Given the ratio and one value, find the other number. Now, in this case, they will not give you the total. They will give you, it's almost like I will say, one of the outcomes. So they will give you one of the ratios. One of ratios. They're going to give you just that specific one. And how do I do it then? Let's just go back. If I'm saying to apples and oranges are divided in the ratio 3:4. Okay, let's just go back again. There are 15 apples, and this is very important. That's not the total. That's just apples. It's just one, because this is apples and this is oranges. So they're just giving you the apples. So what are you going to do? I like to write it on top, and then I write that outcome, that 15 underneath. And then I'm saying to myself, what did they do with 3 to get 15? They multiply with 5. And otherwise you do the reverse. You say 15 divide by 3, that's 5. And whatever I multiply on one side, I multiply on the other side. And 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, my gut feeling is that the example that we are going to do now is like this one. Okay, let's go back. Okay, I'm reading. The prices of meat, vegetables, and fruit, there's the ratio. The cost of meat, okay, because this, and it's always in that order. So if they first say meat, I write meat, and then they say vegetables, and then they say fruit. Then I'm writing it in that order. They don't give me the total. If it was the total, it's the division. They're giving me the meat. But do it like this, then it's easy. Write first. It's meat, vegetable, and fruit. Okay. Then it's 2, 2, and 3. You can put that in between. Okay. But then they give me the meat. What is the meat? They gave me the meat is 2, 4, 5. So I must say 2, 4, 5 divide by 2, and I'm getting that they were multiplied. I did the reverse now. Did you see? Because I want to see with what they multiply, but the reverse is I just do the division. So they multiply with 122.5. Okay. So that means they must multiply there also with 122.5. And they must also multiply there with 122.5. But now let's read the question. They say, calculate the total cost of the meat, vegetables, and fruit. Okay, so I'm first going to find this one. So the different ones. Let's just get my red. So if I multiply that one with 2, it's going to be the same, you can see. So it's also 2, 2, 4, 5. And if I say 122.5, multiply 3, and I get 367.5. Now I'm going to say, therefore, total cost, and I'm just going to add it up. So it's 245 plus that 245 plus the 367.5. So plus 245 plus 245 plus that 367.5, and I'm getting a total of 857.50. Okay, and that is my total cost. Okay, that's easy. That was number A. Let's move on. Let's just mark this as number A. Let's do number B. I'm just going to move it a little bit. The mass of meat, vegetables and fruit are in the ratio. Okay, now it changed. It's a different ratio. So please don't use that one. If it was the same one, can I just give you a clue? They would have made this one I and this one I. Then they would have used the same one. But because it's going to be, it's a different one. And you work with the new ratio. Okay. The total mass, the total mass is 9 kilogram. Calculate the mass of vegetables. Okay, now did you see the total? Oh, this is nice. That's the dividing by a given ratio. This was one of the outcomes. So, okay, I'm going to start again, and I'm going to say, okay, if I want to divide in a ratio, I'm just first going to add it up. So it's 1. Now I'm going to take my same color. 1, I first add up that ratios. And what am I getting? 12. And I just calculate the mass of vegetables. But if you use it, you can really write on your question paper. So just go there. I like, just say meat, vegetables and fruit. That you really don't, because they just talk about the vegetables. They just talked about this one. Okay, so then I will just go and I will say 8 over 12. That is the portion of that. Then I multiply it with that total, which is 9. And if I press it on my calculator, 8 divided 12, this is actually very easy. You don't even have to use a calculator. It's going to be 6 kilograms. And I always like it if people end up 9. So therefore, mass of the vegetables is 6 kilograms. And that's the end. Okay. And now the last question. It's not to say that this whole question is about ratio, because it's A, B, and C. It's almost like 3 different questions. So let's read the question and then we decide. The cost of the meat, 245, is an increase of 25%. And what I'm just focusing on, increase of 25% at the cost of the previous week. Oh, so what can you see? You can see that this is percentage. Now let's just go back to percentage. And it's increase. Now, I want to show you. If they say of the previous week, so this was the previous week. Okay, so this was last week. And let's call this week. Okay. Okay. Now, as soon as you see, they give you this week's total. But they want you to reverse back to last week. Then I know it's reverse percentage. But let's first revise percentage. I go to my table of content again. And I'm looking where is percentage. It seems to me it's a little bit up. I saw it. Okay, there, percentage. So it starts, it's Wilker decimal, but I will start checking from page 9. So I go back to my documents, back to my chapter. I looked at page 9. It will just start there. It's not to say it's there. I'm looking for reverse percentage. Okay, so this is just moving between the fractions. And then I'm starting to move on. Percentage. And really, this is not very, this table is really going to help you. Can I just quickly refresh your memory on this one? So it's not asked, I'm just showing. Remember, just if they say express one quantity as a percentage of another, if the units are the same, you just put the 1 over the total times 100. If they say calculate 40%, it's 40. That percentage means out of 100 times 20. But now, percentage increase and decrease. But this will be if I move forward, not if I reverse back. Okay, so the reason why I put it underneath this one is because if Levy's mass increased from 20 to 23, it's almost like I'm doing this method. So the increase, I first get the increase, it's free, and then I've put free over the original one, and I'm actually making a percentage. What I usually like to say is, in this one, I'm going to make a percentage, okay? Whereby this one, why I wrote this one here, if I say increase 20 kilogram by 15%, then I just work out the 15%, okay? And then I get free, and then I just basically add it. Okay, so this answers, do you see? They have units. And this answers, so here I'm working with a percentage, here I'm making, so here I'm almost like working with percentage, but you can go through the blocks. Okay, I'm moving just on to that reverse percentage. Okay, now this is not so difficult, really, and I'm first going to run through it and then I do it. There's almost like two types. The one where there's not an increase, but I still reverse back, or a decrease. So if I say, if 20% of a length is 23, what is the complete length? So 20% I know is 23, but the complete length is represented by 100%. So this is where I will put the one I want, I put on top. So it's 100 over 20 times 23. So I like to say, and my method is, reverse percentage is usually where the 100 is on top of something. Okay, this is the first. No increase, no decrease, but you must find the complete. You just have a part of it, and then you put just 100 on top. Okay. This one is where you will find an increase or a decrease. And can I just show you here? In this, Anna picked 1 apples. This was 20% more. It could have been 20% less also, but in this case more than she picked in 2016. Can you see? This was 2017. They give you this one, 150 kilogram. But they want to get 2016. So they want the reverse back value, and that's why it's reverse percentage. The only difference now, because it's increased, I add the 20 and I get 120. But I want the 100, and that's why I said it's 100 over 120 times 150. Okay, and if it's, I just want to see if there's a decrease. Oh, if it's a decrease like this one, and I'm just going to do it quickly for you. The value of a number when decreases by 20 is 192. Find the number. Now in this case, it should have just been, it was 100, then it was decreases by 20, so it's now just 80. Okay, and now again it's the 100 over now just 80, and I just multiply it with the 192, and you will find the number. Okay, so it's really reverse percentage. I like to remember it. It's where the 100 is on top. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's do the final one. And I'm going to again make space for myself just for this last one, which is number C. And I really want, make sure you, especially chapter 1, there will be basic things in your examination. And that's for the grade 10s as well as for the grade 11s. So make sure you know this. It's coming from grade 8 and 9, but it's going to help you to get extra marks because it's very basics. Okay, let's do number C. The cost of the meat is an increase of 25. So it was 100, but then it was increased, not decreased. Well, so I'm not going to write. I put units at the back, but not now. Calculate the cost of the meat of the previous week. So reverse percentage, 100 on top. Put that underneath. If it was subtract, you still put that underneath. And then you multiply just with 245. That is my method. It's easy. It always works. And then I just multiply with 245. and I'm getting a value of 196. Calculate the, okay, and then I like to end nice because it's word sums. Therefore, the cost of the meat was 196 in the previous week. Okay, and that's the basics. But make sure, go through the blocks of the whole chapter 1. It's really going to help you to get extra marks in the exams.